We all lived it. Those of us in the marketing and entrepreneurial spaces, at least, we all experienced the 2020 abundance of how to content, educational content. I can teach you this, I can teach you that. Get rich quick, do this, do that. And I think naturally, people are getting a little burnt out. Maybe. I have been mulling over this question a lot over the past week. I was asked about it in a recent Q&A that I did here on my YouTube channel. I was asked about it in a coaching call that I hosted, and it's also just been something that I've been thinking a lot about for myself as I think about my own content strategy, what I really want to create, what people are really craving from me, and what at the end of the day is moving the needle for my business because as much as I'd like content creation to all be about just having fun and having a good time, we've got to pay the bills around here. So let's discuss. Does educational content still have a place on Instagram, on YouTube? Which platforms should you really be demonstrating your authority on? Should we be mixing it up? Should we be sharing other content styles? And what's my plan moving forward? So that's what today's episode is going to be about. If you're new here, this is the Freelance Friday podcast. It's also available on Spotify and Apple and other places like that. And if you could take a second to review the show on one of those platforms, it would actually mean so much to me. I have not asked that question in probably years, but it really does help more people find this show. And we want to help all the freelancers, all the content creators, and keep the lights on, as I mentioned. So, your help is appreciated. Okay, so I answered this question, like I said, in a vlog kind of Q&A recently, and I'll kind of sum it up. My answer is I do think there is absolutely still a place for educational content in your social media strategy. However, we have to be realistic about the fact that audiences have just changed a little bit. Our preferences have changed, algorithms have changed. What people are wanting out of the world and out of the content that they consume is a little bit different. And just anecdotally speaking here, I don't have like data for this, but I know a lot of people in my community, they're just really burnt out on everything, burnt out on business, burnt out on the news, burnt out on things just feeling a little heavy and hard. And I find that people, when they come to the internet, they're looking for a bit more levity. I also feel like since the explosion of Instagram Reels, for example, and TikTok, like people are very videoed out, like short form video. Hey, here's this 15-second sound bite. They're like a little over that. And I mean, I am too, for sure. But with that said, I don't think that means that we need to stop selling or stop teaching. I think it's all about balance. That's kind of the theme of my life, this year is balance. So I want to give you a couple of examples of educational content creators who I think are really nailing balance. The first one, her name is Abby Sharp. She is a registered dietitian. I've been watching her. I actually started watching her during these days, these dark days, 2020, 2021. I fell in love with her content. And I think what probably attracted me to her content at first were these celebrity and influencer sort of response videos. Do you guys remember the response video era? I feel like everybody was doing that for a while. And basically, what Abby Sharp does is she'll say, like here's one reviewing celebrities' most unhinged diets and food, what Tom Holland eats for his movie roles. Sierra Schultze. She's a YouTuber, right? So she uses these familiar names, these familiar terms, these trending topics to get people onto her channel. Because if we look, we see that those videos are kind of the ones that are getting the most views. We can even sort by popular on her channel. And we've got, Dr. Dre, who's another, not the rapper, she's another YouTuber. We've got her, Abby, reviewing Daisy Keach. I guess she must be an influencer or something like that. Freely the Banana Girl, if you know, she's an influencer. So those are her top performing pieces of content. Those are the videos that are getting people to know who she is. And it looks like I watched the Freely the Banana Girl video. That's probably how I got into Abby Sharp's orbit. However, that's not what kept me in Abby Sharp's world. I have been a long time fan of Abby's. I talk about her from time to time. I truly love what she does. I don't need another Freely the Banana Girl video. I'm going to be honest with you. I really do not. What I actually am really interested in nowadays are these educational type of videos, exposing menopause weight loss truths, the biggest hacks to crush cravings and boost gut health, Is stress making you lose weight or gain weight? Those are the videos that I watch. I actually very rarely watch any of the celebrity or more entertaining type of content anymore because she's got me in, right? She got me hooked. She got me entertained. Now I want to know what she's really about. And if I'm going to purchase anything from her, she's got product lines and courses and stuff like that. If I'm going to purchase anything from her, I want to know that she's the real deal. I want to know that she actually knows about, the science of nutrition and food, and that she's not just some like funny, snarky creator making fun of these wacky celebrity diets. Another example of this is Psychology in Seattle, Dr. Kirk Honda. And he does something very similar. How I got introduced to Dr. Honda is through his 90-Day Fiancé reaction videos. It was a time and a place. You just kind of had to be there. Most of the world was obsessed with that show at a certain point in time. And I was one of those people. And, I stumbled upon him giving these psychologist, reactions to what was going on in this show. And it hooked me. However, he doesn't only focus on celebrities. He does do that still. He does like Love is Blind reactions and, just any like popular things that are going on in the world in pop culture. But he also does these long podcasts, 46 minutes, where he's talking about therapy terminations, ACOA, and couple therapy. I don't even know what ACOA is. And if we look at his YouTube channel, for those of you who are watching the episode, I mean, those videos, yeah, they get less views. They do. They get less views than him talking about an explosive moment in 90 Day Fiancé. However, he's been posting these for years, and I don't think it's just for funsies, okay? I think there is some data behind why he is still posting this content. And that really just brings me to my next point that I want to make about this is that you need to adjust expectations on educational or on salesy content, whatever it is that you want to say, right? Dr. Honda's very academic, he has like this very chill tone about him. I personally love it, but it's not like, "Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Mr. Ed from 90 Day Fiancé," right? These podcasts of his, they are just not going to get the same amount of views as something that is explosive and that is fiery. Abby Sharp, her talking about 10 things you can do when you're, pre-menopause or whatever, like that's just not going to get the same amount of views as if she's like doing a takedown of a Kardashian diet or something like that. And so keeping in mind that those types of videos or those types of content pieces are there to add credibility, add authority, to drive people down the sales funnel. Keeping that in mind, you're going to be okay with getting less views, right? You're going to be able to assign a goal to those educational or salesy or authority building videos or pieces of content that is not just a view count, that is not virality, because chances are you doing like, I mean, my license complaint and other legal matters on Psychology in Seattle, that's not going to get viral views. That's just not. But it is going to turn me into somebody who watches for entertainment, into somebody who's like, oh, he's the real deal. He really knows what he's talking about. I actually have no idea what that video is about. License complaint. I don't know. Now I'm intrigued though. And it's going to make me maybe go ahead and say, all right, I want to book a session with him, or I want to buy something from him, or I want to become a subscriber, or whatever the case may be. And I think that is the second point with educational content, any content. Okay. I teach this. We all know this. It's easy to make the goal virality. It's easy to make the goal views or subscribers or followers, depending on the platform you're on. That's like the easy answer. It's usually not the answer though, because followers do not pay bills. Views alone kind of pay bills on some platforms, but not really. And not for those of us who are tuning in, right? Those of us who are tuning into this podcast have businesses or looking at this as a career. We're not looking at this as just like I just want to get a fluke viral video that goes wild on Facebook and gives me a big payout, playing the lottery, if you will. No, we're looking to really build our brands, build authority, and be taken seriously and build up that credibility. And therefore, you need another goal for your content that isn't just views. I will give you an example for myself in that I always say it, right? I know how to get a bunch of views. Social media strategy, how to make a bunch of money, how to do this, Instagram growth, okay? I know how to do it. And I know there are lots of other people in my space who do it and do it quite well. And that is their thing. And I'm happy for them. I don't wanna only do that type of content. I've gotta have a balance. And one of the reasons I've gotta have a balance is that, number 1, just personal fulfillment. I just would get very bored if that's all that I posted at any given day or time. But the other reason is the data has shown me that the people who click on those viral, if you will, quote unquote videos are not people who stick around. Most of the time, they do not become a part of the community. Small percentage of them do, but the small percentage of them that do, I want them to get to know me a little bit deeper. I want them to get to know a different side of me. And actually, I think this is where I should make the distinction. I actually think YouTube and Instagram and TikTok actually work opposite. And I'm going to explain. YouTube, I think people are education first. People know YouTube as the place where they can go to get the answer, where they can use, the YouTube SEO to figure out what they need. Instagram, people are looking to be entertained. So swap these depending on the platforms that you're on. Meaning, if you are on YouTube and you want to diversify your content, well, SEO educational is where you should be, but also throw in the occasional vlog or the occasional Q&A, the occasional community piece of content, the occasional live stream, a silly funny short or something like that. These are pieces of community content that are going to get your SEO audience more acclimated to you, to see you more like a human being that they actually want to spend time with, spend money on, hang out with, whatever the goal is. On Instagram, on TikTok, I think the reverse is true, where people go on those platforms to relax, to, have fun, to be entertained. So do the silly, funny stuff, do the trending stuff, but also throw in those pieces of authority now and again. Throw in those, authoritative pieces of content that do show I know what I'm talking about. I'll give you an example on Instagram because we've been talking about YouTube. This is an Instagram account that I started following a while back. It's called The Secure Relationship. It's another therapist type person, I think. So she does a lot of shareable content. She does, a lot of stuff that's like carousels, what is emotional safety and why does it matter? And then it's like words and these are shareable, these are savable. We know that these types of posts tend to do quite well on Instagram because of their shareability and all of that. But she also throws in these talking head style, podcast style kind of sit down videos. They probably don't do as well. In fact, they do not, right? We're seeing 449 likes for a talking head kind of podcast style thing, 3,200, almost 3,300 on a text based carousel, you know? But number 1, well, we've got one talking head that has 11,000 likes. So that one hit. So, you never know. But also, even if it didn't hit, even if they were all at 400, I would still encourage her, if I was her social media strategist, to keep going with those because this takes this carousel that my friend might have sent me or my partner might have sent me or whatever, and I'm going to go down her page and I'm going to say, wow, she actually knows what she's talking about. She is actually somebody maybe I want to work with and I want to book a call with. This isn't just like some random person making Canva graphics. This is a real therapist. This is somebody who, has credibility and has authority in this space. So, yeah, I encourage you to think about that. I encourage you to mix it up with your content and adapt to where people are today. For me personally, yeah, I think that what worked a few years ago, it still works somewhat, but I do think people are tired of being yelled at. People are tired of being shouted at. And I also think that the industry, at least my industry, the marketing industry, has really exploded and gotten a lot more saturated. And people are kind of like, I'm tired of everyone being an expert, which I feel that way too, to be honest. I'm like, who do you even listen to? And why are you yelling at me? I just want to relax and have a good time. And so for me, that has been leaning a little bit more into things that are just more human and more calm and more me. I really love vlogging. I've always loved vlogging my life. That's how I started my YouTube channel. And so that's something that I'm going to continue to lean into, even though they don't get the same amount of views as a viral how to create a social media strategy video. I still think that they help foster a sense of community and build a strong relationship with my audience. And it meets people where they are. People don't want to be aggressively sold to or aggressively yelled at in this moment in time, in my personal opinion. Okay, maybe you don't want to vlog though. Maybe you want to just do educational content. There's still a way to educate that is not so like, sit down and listen to me, I'm an authority, right? How can you find that intersection of interests? Maybe, for example, I did a video like this. It didn't do super well, but it was quite well received. Like the engagement on it was high. People really enjoyed it. And I think I gave a lot of value in it where I sat down and I did my makeup and answered business questions. So maybe there's a way that you can package your educational content that feels a little less talking head podcast bro, for lack of better words. Maybe you're going for a hike. That's something that I did. I actually loved that video and I kind of want to do more of them. I went for a hike in my favorite trail in my hometown and answered again social media management questions. So I blended those worlds. I blended social media management and a calming, chill, fun activity and environment that made it seem a lot less salesy and come to class. And the reverse can be true. If you are a fashion creator and you're like, you know what, I want to create a course and open up an additional revenue stream and make some more money. I don't want to just show off my cute outfits. You can show off your cute outfit and then put in the caption some style terms or, key principles for people to keep in mind, or do a carousel where you show different cuts or different fabrics, or I'm not very knowledgeable about what all of that stuff means. So you can use your expertise and insert there. But I think it's about the blend. I think it's about blending those worlds so that you are able to monetize what you're doing, but still show up as human, because that's why people watch content. It's important for us to keep in mind. That is why people watch content creators, or even if you are a social media manager and you're thinking of this, for your businesses that you manage, people still look at small businesses on Instagram, or any type of business on Instagram. They're still wanting a creator vibe, right? Otherwise, we'll just go to watch a commercial or read a magazine or read something super editorialized. So we still need to blend those worlds, in my opinion. I think that's what makes this industry really work. And yeah, I don't know. Hopefully you can adjust your expectations a little bit for different types of content. I think they all have value if you can measure those results, if you can prove that they have value. For me, I've proven that even my worst performing content type, vlogs, have a lot of value. I hear it from people all the time. I love your vlogs. I sprinkle little affiliate links in there. I mention things that I sell and get signups through it. So I know it works. I know that the value is there. So prove it to yourself too, whichever side of the coin that you're on and looking to diversify. But those are my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And again, I would really appreciate it if you took a second to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow on Spotify or Apple, and leave me a review or leave me a comment, whatever you have a second for. It really means the world to me to hear from you. This is the Freelance Friday podcast. I'm Latasha James, and I am so grateful that you're here. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.